Some questionable decision making from the manager and more bad pitching from the bullpen leads to the D-backs' demise in Game 1 to the LA Dodgers.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas. I'm a multimedia journalist and I'm a graphic designer, so please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com to see all of my latest work. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play Store. On today's Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, we'll talk about that Game 1 loss to the LA Dodgers, if the D-backs can respond in Game 2, and we'll talk about the D-backs bullpen desperately needing some help. Thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube, so please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. Want to hit 2,000 subscribers by the All-Star break, so please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. But now, let's talk about that Game 1 loss to the LA Dodgers, where the D-backs lose 8-4, and they drop to 13-17 on the season. And watching that game, it was very frustrating because I felt like it was a game where there was some questionable decision-making by Torey Lovullo, and once again, it was the bullpen not being able to step up in any sort of way to keep this game close. I'll first start with Torey Lovullo because Tommy Henry, he did run into himself ran into a little trouble in this game. At one point, had the bases loaded, right? But was able to escape it with a Ohtani inning-ending double play. Tommy Henry, for the most part, I thought was effective in this game. Yes, he wasn't elite, but 2 earned runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, over 4 innings pitch. I thought he was fine, and I definitely thought he could give the D-backs one of those 5 innings, 2 or 3 earned run starts. And I was very surprised when Torey Lovullo decided to pull Tommy Henry after just 4 innings. I had to look up on Twitter as to whether or not Tommy Henry was hurt, because from just watching the game, I was like, yeah, Tommy Henry can definitely go back out there for a 5th. I know it hasn't been a perfect start, but I like the way he's pitching. I thought he was battling against the LA Dodgers, but Torey Lovullo addicted to can't put him out there that 3rd time through the lineup. And I get it, going against that vaulted Dodgers lineup. I understand, but it's like you're taking Tommy Henry out, a guy who's battling that Dodgers lineup, to put in Andrew Saalfrank, who has not been good so far with the Arizona Diamondbacks, to put in Scott McGough right after that. It's not like the options you're bringing in to replace Tommy Henry or the shut down bullpen arms. That's what we're going to discuss in segment number 3, how desperately this D-backs bullpen is in need of help right now. So when you're pulling Tommy Henry from the start after 4 innings, that means you're relying on your bullpen in a big way to keep it close and get you to the end of the game. And that's a big ask right now, because as we'll detail later, this D-backs bullpen has not been good this season, and it has not been good the last couple of weeks. So I just don't really understand that decision-making by Torey Lovullo. I do understand it to a degree of not letting Tommy Henry pitch that 3rd time through the Dodgers lineup, but it's not like you have better options. And the way Tommy Henry has been pitching recently, I think it would have been fine to let him go out there for at least the 5th inning. And when you look at this D-backs pitching in this game, the bullpen coming in after Tommy Henry comes out, Saalfrank immediately comes in. He loads the bases. Scott McGough can't bail him out. The combination of those two leads to many, many runs for the LA Dodgers in that 5th inning, as they put 4 runs on the board, and this game gets away from the D-backs immediately as soon as Torey Lovullo takes Tommy Henry out the game. Sal Frank and Scott McGough, that combination leads to the D-backs' demise. And the pitching overall in this game, just not very good. Logan Allen didn't have himself his best outing either. He gives up 2 runs over 3.1 innings pitch. And this D-backs pitching staff on the night strikes out the LA Dodgers 0 times. It was like the first time since 2006 the LA Dodgers have not struck out in a game. That is absolutely, we'll go back to our word of the day yesterday, horrendous. I get it. Tommy Henry is not exactly a strikeout pitcher, but he can ratchet it up at times. And it's a little bit surprising to not see him get at least 1 strikeout, but not even someone from the bullpen was able to get a strikeout. No Logan Allen, Justin Martinez, who can throw flames. Scott McGough is not the best, but typically he's able to at least get a strikeout. Sal Frank, no, like just to see this whole D-backs pitching staff go against the LA Dodgers and for none of them to get any strikeouts. I mean, great job by the Dodgers offense to have patience. We know that Dodgers lineup is deep. We know how good it is. We know how much money is committed to that Dodgers lineup, but you should at least be able to get 1 strikeout if you're a major league pitching staff. So I think that's a terrible look by the D-backs. They definitely need to get at least 1 strikeout in game number 2, and they need to do a lot more of that. One thing that the D-backs did in this game was put up a crooked number. That is something we have not seen a ton from the D-backs recently, right? In that series against the Seattle Mariners, there was no inning like the 5th inning for the D-backs where they put 3 runs on the board. They have a sequences of hits and guys crossing home plate. Like that didn't happen in the series against the Seattle Mariners. So did like the fact that the D-backs put 3 runs on the board in the 5th. But the biggest problem I still have, even though the D-backs were able to do that, they were only 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position in this game. So despite having a inning where you put up 3 runs, the D-backs were still bad with runners in scoring position in this game. They were a little bit lucky in that game. Some poor pitching by the Dodgers, some balls in the dirt was able to allow the D-backs to advance their runners in that 5th inning. So D-backs, even though they get the 3 runs in the 5th, I don't want to give too much credit to the offense because they were still 1 for 6 on the day with the runners in scoring position. We did get a Corbin Carroll sighting. He had a little flare out to the outfield. You got to do whatever you can to get on base if you're Corbin Carroll. Struck out in his next at bat on a ball that was a mile too high, a ball that was at his shoulder. So if you're trying to get the confidence going for Corbin Carroll, we can't have him striking out on pitches way outside the zone. So please, give the D-backs a little bit of help. Throw Corbin Carroll a bone. And then finally, one thing to keep track of, the D-backs have not won an opening game series since opening day. So they have not won the first game of a series since they won the first game against the Colorado Rockies on opening day. So tough to win series when every time you play an opponent, you lose the first game of that series. Not a good way to set the tone. So D-backs need to do a better job of that. And we'll discuss how the D-backs will respond, if they can respond, in game number 2 against the LA Dodgers. If you plan on catching any D-backs Dodgers this week, then I suggest you buy your tickets on Game Time, because Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat on your phone before you buy. All-in pricing shows your total cost up front. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. Exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy theater, and more. Zone deals where you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account or redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets lowest price guaranteed. Also want to talk to you guys about Policy Genius because Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help you talk through it. Talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step. Easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/lockdownmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockdownmlb. All right. Let's get back into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. And let me ask you, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now let's get back into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Let's talk about the Dbacks and if they can respond in game number 2 against the LA Dodgers, because I think this time of the season is super important for the Dbacks. They are, of course, facing a lot of adversity, and these games are a great test of character for the Dbacks. They are facing the foe in front of them in the LA Dodgers, who are one of the best teams in Major League Baseball, one of the most expensive rosters in the sport. They have a loaded lineup. They have a great rotation, the bullpen. They have the whole jazz. Then the D-backs also have the internal foe because they have a lot of challenges right now on their roster with injuries and struggles with certain guys like Corbin Carroll, where it feels mental. So the D-backs have the foe in front of them, and they have the internal foe right now. I think for the D-backs right now, going through these struggles at the beginning of the season can be a good thing, because if they respond right now to the hurdles in front of them, I think it could have positive ripple effects on the rest of the season, both in the standings and how this D-backs team will respond to challenges late in the season. But for it to be a positive ripple effect, the D-backs will have to handle their business early in the season, and that includes games number 2 and number 3 against the LA Dodgers. I'm not saying their season or anything is over if they lose this series, but definitely if the D-backs want to continue to keep pace in the NL West and continue to tread water as this team tries to get healthy as the season progresses, you need to handle your business against the Dodgers when you're facing off against a Landon Knack, who, no disrespect to Landon Knack, he's not the Glass now, he's not the Yamamoto. We're talking about, winnable games and games you have to take advantage of. I think this start against the rookie Landon Knack is one of those examples. I'm sure he's a fine pitcher. When you look at the stats, they look good for Landon Knack right now. 3.27 ERA, 4 earned runs over 11 innings pitched in just 2 starts. He's got 9 strikeouts to 4 walks. Like, he's been good through 2 starts. His fastball is the pitch you're going to want to hit. If you're this D-backs offense, has been his most vulnerable pitch, his least effective pitch. So that's the pitch you're going to want to look for if you're this D-backs offense. But I want to challenge this D-backs offense. They have not been good recently. They have not done enough. And one of the areas they have not been good at recently is the power department. So give me a flashback to the game where you hit 4 home runs in a single inning against the LA Dodgers. Let me see you take advantage against a rookie on the mound and hit some dingers. Lourdes Gurriel, I want to see him get going. He has been in a little bit of a slump the last couple of weeks. Same with the Christian Walker D-backs have not been creating enough run scoring opportunities over the last week and a half. And when they have created those run scoring opportunities, they have not converted them at a high enough level. And so going against a rookie, I'm hoping this could be the perfect opportunity to get some confidence. I feel like I say this every time I do one of these preview podcasts, but this could be an opportunity where the D-backs offense create some confidence for themselves going against a rookie pitcher for the LA Dodgers. I did like the little Gabriel Moreno, Corbin Carroll back to back in the bottom of the lineup. It was fun. I just wish it wasn't the bottom of the lineup. That tells you how much those two have been struggling. Corbin Carroll for sure more than Gabriel Moreno, but would have liked to see that combination at the top of the lineup in another universe. Maybe Carroll's crushing it at the number 2 slot, and maybe Gabriel Moreno is your number 3 hitter like he was in the postseason. But those two guys haven't been good enough this season, especially Corbin Carroll, who the D-backs desperately need more from. Maybe he could get it going against rookie Knack, but at this point, it's just all conjecture and just wishful thinking from Corbin Carroll, because we have not seen enough from him at all this season to even suggest the breakout of the slump is coming anytime soon. So it's just a lot of hoping and wishing for Corbin Carroll right now. And then when you look at that Dodgers lineup, we know about the top of the lineup, the Otanis, the Mookies, the Freddies. Like, you're not going to stop those guys, but you have to do your best to limit the bottom, the Pages, the Rojas's, the Hernandez's. Like, you have to slow down those guys if you're the D-backs. Hernandez and Pages, or Pages, however you pronounce his name, those two combined for 4 RBIs in this game. Just can't allow the bottom of the Dodgers lineup to put in that much work. And I would absolutely love for the D-backs to limit D-back killer Will Smith, because he crushes the D-backs every time he plays us, and he had a home run in this game. So limit the bottom of the lineup, and please limit Will Smith, because it's something the D-backs have never been able to do. But the D-backs are facing a lot of obstacles right now. If they can make it through the other side, it will help them in the long run. Otherwise, they will probably crumble. And one area that could lead to the D-backs crumbling is their bullpen, which we'll talk about in segment number 3. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift up your head, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friend's money as I possibly can. That's right. The Smash It mobile game, Monopoly Go, lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone, anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards, make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball, charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play Store. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in their free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. All right. Let's get back into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. And let's talk about this D-backs bullpen, because it has been so bad recently. And it just feels like there's really no one in that bullpen you could trust. And that's kind of what I want to discuss. Like, who can you trust in that D-backs bullpen right now? Because the bullpen right now is giving me 2021, 2022 vibes, where it's like there might be one or two guys that you like, but is there really anyone you could trust? Like, back in 2021, like how Nelson at one point was maybe the most reliable D-backs reliever, or maybe a Joe Mantiply. Would you trust either of those two guys right now? Like, that's how bad this D-backs bullpen is. And I want to keep all possibilities open to upgrading this bullpen, whether it's picking up guys from the DFA pool, or trading for guys, or going through AAA, because the D-backs desperately need to do something about this bullpen. I think they need to do something kind of quickly and kind of soon, because the bullpen has been so bad recently, and it's just not good enough to win games right now. And the way that the D-backs starting pitchers have looked the last couple of weeks, like, the starters have not been the issue. The Tommy Henrys have been able to hold it down. The Ryan Nelsons, when he was healthy, holding it down. Like, despite all the injuries in this D-backs rotation, the starting pitchers have not been the problem. The bullpen pieces have just not been good enough. And when we look at a game like tonight, Andrew Southrank, I've been calling for his name because of how bad Mantiply and Cal Nelson have been as lefty relievers. It does not matter. Southrank this season has been just as bad as those guys. The Scott McGuffs of the world, we know how bad he's been this season. Like, if you look at the D-backs relievers over their last 15 days, Andrew Southrank, I believe he's given up, I think, 8 earned runs now over his last 1.1 innings pitched. Like, it's been bad for him. Cal Nelson, over his last 2.1 innings pitched when he was healthy, 5 earned runs. Bryce Jarvis, over his last 5.2 innings pitched, 5 earned runs. Scott McGuff, he has been awful all season and the last couple of weeks. Joe Mantiply, the last 2 weeks, last 3.2 innings pitched, 2 earned runs for a 4.91 ERA. Outside of Ryan Thompson, Justin Martinez, and at times Kevin Ginkel, there's just no one that has been good over the last couple of weeks for the D-backs in that bullpen. Want to see more Justin Martinez. I want Kevin Ginkel to start pitching well, and I just don't know what to do with the bullpen. You can't just believe that once Paul Sewell gets back, everything is going to be kumbaya and okay, because that's just not true. The issues with this D-backs bullpen go further than just a Paul Sewell coming back to be the closer. You can't have Castro on this team. You can't have Scott McGuff on this team. Nelson, Mantiply haven't been good enough. Bryce Jarvis, I like him, but he's been up and down. I think you got to keep the Slades of the world on this roster. You got to keep the Ryan Nelsons on this roster. Keep the Justin Martinez's on this roster. And then after that, I don't think it's a bad idea at all to play a hot hand with people in the AAA farm system, because a guy like Christian Mena, I know he's young. I know you probably want to bring him up as a starter, but right now he's dominating on the AAA level, and maybe he's someone that you give a look to be a long reliever or a strikeout guy out of your bullpen. If you're the Arizona Diamondbacks, you just need more reliable arms. And if I'm Mike Hazen, I think he has to start scouring the market right now for potential bullpen pieces that you could pick up via trade. Who's about to hit the waiver wire, because the bullpen, it's just not good enough right now. High leverage moments. You just don't trust this D-backs team and relievers in those games that are considered late and close, right? 7th inning or later, 1-run ball games. You have absolutely no faith in this D-backs bullpen doing anything positive, maintaining a lead, keeping you within 1 run of a deficit. Like, you don't have any faith in the D-backs bullpen to do that. And that's why I think pulling Tommy Henry out the game so early was a questionable decision, because now I need 5 innings of good bullpen from the D-backs. There's no way that was going to happen. So if the D-backs want to fix some of their late game struggles, yes, the offense needs to pick it up, but they also need their bullpen to pitch better. They need better relievers. Maybe they need to go to AAA. Maybe they got to start making phone calls and start asking other GMs, what relievers can we poach from their bullpen? Because where it stands right now, this D-backs bullpen is not good enough, and they're not going to win many games with their relievers they're throwing out currently. Now, that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.